going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, usually I don't always make videos on the weekends because we know that the weekend price action really doesn't kind of matter that much for Bitcoin anymore since it is tied so much to traditional equities. But in this specific case, I do want to talk about it because we had a major sell-off in traditional stocks. Bitcoin got hit as well. And what a crazy day it was. When we made the video yesterday, we were sitting right around these levels. We had a crazy pump. In fact, let me zoom into this insane chart. So we were down here at around 21,100, pumped all the way up to 21,800, right? Powell comes out, he starts talking, and then all of a sudden the markets just absolutely tank. Now, personally, I actually do think that the markets overreacted just a little bit. It wasn't even an official announcement. It wasn't an official meeting. It was literally just him having a non-scheduled discussion. Like, it wasn't even an official event, which I'm very surprised about that, but I will digress from that. But as you can see, guys, the S&P got hit tremendously right here. Look at this fake out, same exact thing. And, you know, I just want to point something out. It is obviously very apparent that they are, in fact, treating Bitcoin the same way that they're treating tech stocks, because Dylan LeClaire pointed this out, and he said you just got to laugh sometimes. Look at these three charts. They look almost identical, but here's the catch. Here's the funny part, right? The top is the DXY, but it's inverted. So he actually flipped it the other way, and you could see that if you invert the DXY, it does the exact same thing as Bitcoin and the S&P, right? Now, currently, the DXY also had a bit of a fake out. It fell down and ended up pumping up higher. So yesterday was quite a bloody Friday, but it was also a very confusing day all around. So what I want to talk about specifically is how bad is it actually going to get? Should we honestly, truly just start bracing for the worst? And also, does the Fed actually have a bit of a secret master plan that they're not really telling everyone right now? Because if we have a look over here, you can see that the NASDAQ dropped, the 100 dropped almost 3% as Powell hit all the hawkish notes and skipped all the dovish notes. Now, everyone expected we were still going to have a rate raise, right? That wasn't like some kind of a shocker, but I suppose it was his tone and the fact that he said, expect more pain, essentially, that had all the investors running for the hills. He said restoring price stability will likely require maintaining a restrictive policy stance for some time. The historical record cautions strongly against prematurely loosening policy.
Reducing inflation is likely to require a sustained period of below-trend growth. Moreover, there will very likely be some softening of labor market conditions. While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses. These are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. But a failure to restore price stability would mean far greater pain.
Now, just to put it into perspective, you think it's bad what happened to Bitcoin? We were talking about this video 2 days ago, bullish indicators. Price fell $1,000 and everyone started freaking out, right? But just to put this into perspective, the S&P closed down 3.4% on the day, hitting its lowest levels since late July. The NASDAQ shed 4%. However, what we lost in the stock market was actually more than the entire market cap of Bitcoin and all of the altcoins combined. Just to still put into perspective how early we are to Bitcoin. And I know everyone says we're not early, we're late. When you really look at these numbers and you consider the percentages and the dollar values happening in stocks versus Bitcoin, it's not surprising to actually see this. Now, by the way, if you guys do want a full copy of this, this is the entire speech totally in text. I'll actually drop this below if you guys are interested in looking into this. But ultimately, I know I started off again with a little bit of the Fed stuff. We are going to get into, of course, the charts. I'll let you know what I'm looking at. But I really just wanted to talk about what is happening right now with these macro factors. Is Bitcoin really currently doomed? I mean, if we go into like this 10-year recession, bear market, depression, does Bitcoin actually have any chance at all? So if that's the kind of content that interests you guys, definitely get subscribed. But I want to give a bit of a shout out, of course, again to Kitco News. They had this guy, Todd Bubba Horowitz, chief market strategist over at BubbaTrading.com. Very intelligent guy. He's been around for a while. And I wanted to discuss what he had to say in response to what essentially the Fed and Powell are doing right now. He actually talks a little bit about maybe what their master plan could be. He discusses a potential great reset, and also, will they actually be able to stop this inflation, or are we destined inevitably for hyperinflation? Now, he doesn't go too much into Bitcoin, but I do wonder what that could mean for Bitcoin in the future.
So you don't think a Fed pivot is on the table for, I guess, the following meeting in December, or perhaps next year?
Where are they going to pivot from, David? They don't have any room to pivot. That's why they're raising rates into a recession. Okay, even though they've changed the dynamics of what a recession is, they're raising rates in a recession. It's never been done in history.
That's right.
Okay, so now why are they raising? Because there's a political agenda behind all of this stuff that's going on, which is really to try to create the Great Reset. Because let's face it, the fiat currency system itself is fraudulent. So we've got a lot of issues, and we don't want to solve them because they're easily solved. And one is by going back to fracking and shale producing, which would not add nothing to the carbon footprint. Okay. Instead, we've got record amounts of coal being burned right now because of the energy crisis going on.
Not only is he trying to lower inflation through a raising of the interest rates, but he's actually trying to engineer some sort of economic slowdown. I mean, the two are separate. They're interlinked, but they're separate. But it seems to me like he's trying to do both. Is that correct?
He's trying to get away from what's going to happen, which is going to be hyperinflation. Okay. You've got a number of different inflations, one being hyperinflation, which is where we're headed. The whole fact that they went into the transitory business a couple of years ago, when everybody knew that this was going to happen, is the problem. And wait until the price of oil starts skyrocketing again. What do you think is going to happen to inflation then?
I mean, if the White House wants to define it as not being a recession, that's fine. But let's be technical here. They're raising into 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. That doesn't happen all the time. In fact, I don't think it's ever happened before. What's going to happen to the economy, Ted? What's going to happen? What?
We've got a third quarter coming of negative GDP, and it's never happened before. Okay.
So what is this going to do to the economy?
Well, listen, we're already in trouble. Listen, I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. The markets have been slightly in an uptrend, but overall, I expect to see a 50 to 60% haircut to these markets. I think that we're going to get creamed at some point. You can only hold up a helium balloon so long. Eventually, the helium comes out, and it's starting to come out now. Now, again, today's sell-off, I don't put much into it. It's a sell-off, okay? But overall, we'll see if the trends change and the markets start to go down. But I'm certainly pretty certainly well convinced that we're going to go 50 to 60% lower before this whole thing is all done. They have totally trashed the economy and done everything as badly as you can handle something has been done by not only the Fed, but the administration in power.
Now, I want you guys to stick around because I do actually have something bullish I wanted to talk about, but since some people were yelling at me for being too bullish a few days ago, I want to look at both sides of the coin. So yes, there is a lot of bearish narratives weighing down on Bitcoin right now. We are seeing traditional equities in a bear market. We are seeing the Fed on their hawkish stance, potentially the Great Reset, like Bubba Horowitz mentions, right? So is this their plan? Well, if they can't actually stop it inevitably, and there is a Great Reset and there is a great collapse, is it actually a good thing for the dollar, or will we actually move into harder assets like gold and now specifically digital gold, Bitcoin, right? We have seen a lot of interest in institutions, and most of them are just waiting for that regulatory green light approval. A lot of people say, oh, the institutions are in right now. Not as many as you think. They are in, but there are many of them that are not in, especially specifically when we speak about these sovereign wealth funds, right? We know Kevin O'Leary, he said, if some of these guys got in the UAE, we could have a $60,000 Bitcoin in 2 weeks, right? But possibly not in these macro conditions. However, I do believe that Bitcoin long-term is still the best bet. It's just very young. Gold is 5,000 years old. 5,000 years old. Our country's like 300 years old, right? Bitcoin, 13 years old. You just have to give it some time. And if you don't have the patience to wait that out, well, then maybe this game isn't for you. Maybe trading and crypto and markets are just not, something that works out for you. But if you do have that conviction to hold and wait, I still believe things like Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be the greatest answer in the next decade to 2 decades. And I don't have the math prepared right now, but if you do look at what Bitcoin has done historically from the lows to the highs, It's quite interesting. We generally tend to do about a 20x off of the lows, which if we do that math means that we could see a $1 million Bitcoin in our lifetime or even in the next 20 to 25 years. So you have to say to yourself, if it's 20,000 today, 12,000 tomorrow, let's say it does fall, does it really matter at these prices? You know, you got to take a bigger stance at it. But I know what everybody wants. They want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, probably nothing because it's Sunday. But having a look right here, if we do look at the CME futures, we did have 20,420 right here. So I would anticipate that we're going to open somewhere around 20,420 come Monday. Now, because we had such a huge sell-off, people are asking, what do I think is going to happen? Truthfully, I don't know. You might as well just spin a wheel, you know, pump or dump and just guess at this point, because ultimately, you know, and TA does work. I mean, it's not that it doesn't work. I mean, you could see we were clearly in this uptrend, right? And then we lost it. But unfortunately, a lot of this is still tied to traditional stocks. So 20,420 is about where I'd be looking at. But before we get into the specifics, okay? I know you want to talk short term. I want to talk about what we just had. And I know some people are saying all of these metrics don't matter. Who cares? 100 indicators doesn't matter. Fair enough. But I just want to show you guys something that just happened. Now, we had talked about the blue switching into the neutral on the Super Guppy. Well, guess what just happened right now, guys? We officially switched right here into the red, okay? Now, every other time we've ever switched into the red, you can see right here, we were more than halfway done with the bear market. In fact, we were about 75% of the way through the bear market. Now, that doesn't mean that we instantly pumped. For example, right here, until we actually recovered, that was around 245 days. So we still had, you know, a little, well, you know, 3/4 of a year or whatever until we got up to that level. Over here, it was a little bit faster. This was about 90 days. So if you do consider the fact that we may be, you know, 25% or whatever left of the bear market, and you assume that it happened from this first peak, and that's around 500 days, well, then maybe we have, you know, another, I don't know, half a year. Maybe we have about a year, right? Which is actually a bit of an overshot. It would be less of recover until we fully recover from this downtrend. But, you know, regardless, it still is an indicator that shows that the majority of the downside is over. Or at least the time of it is what I'm trying to say. Not to say that Bitcoin can't fall another 50%, but that historically speaking, the worst is in fact behind us as far as the time of being in the bear market. So we shouldn't be spending too much more time in this bear market. So I just wanted to, you know, kind of share that with you. And also something else pretty incredible, you know, people say, oh, TA doesn't work. Well, look at the unbelievable, you can call it a coincidence if you want. You can call it a confluence if you want. But look at this, guys. So we clearly had this falling wedge pattern, right? We ended up breaking out of it right here, moving into a rising wedge, right? Now, if I get rid of this, look at these 2 points. So the wedge obviously ended right here. But look at this. Exactly where the 2 points of this wedge intersected right here, okay, is essentially where we're seeing this bounce. Obviously, you know, this is, a week later, but my point is we're actually seeing Bitcoin hold support on this resistance and this support intersecting. So I'm not saying that we can't go lower, et cetera, but I am saying that you still can use TA even in these uncertain times. You can have an idea or a clue as to where Bitcoin could end up going, right? So I just wanted to point that out. And obviously, guys, you do know if you want to check out the tutorial on BitGet, if you guys do want to learn how to trade, you can trade in bear markets. Obviously, shorting the resistance is the way to go. Most people are not good at that, but if you want to learn how to do that, I do have that tutorial popping up above. There's over $15,000 in bonuses. Totally free, guys. It takes 30 seconds to sign up. Take advantage of that, especially in these crappy times, because you can basically trade with free money. So definitely take advantage of that if you guys are interested. But getting back to essentially the big level, we did lose my level, okay? $20,740 roughly was the level we were looking at. We did lose that level. The reason that that level was so important is because of all this interest right here. It was acting as, you know, we had this support, resistance, support, resistance, flip support. Then we had support right here. Then we bounced off of it right here as support. So we did finally lose it. Now, the big question everyone is probably going to ask is, does that mean that we have completely just lost the structure and Bitcoin is just going to absolutely crash farther? It actually doesn't. And the reason I'm saying this is because even though we did did close below this on the daily. Number one, we've never actually attempted so far to retest it. Number two, it's the weekend. And number three, we don't know how stocks are going to react on Monday. So what could happen, one possibility, is this whole thing turns out to just be a fake out and we end up right back inside of this giant flag, or we dump super hard on Monday. But I will say this personally, I do believe that if on Monday we see Bitcoin and stocks dumping, like as in we dumped Friday, right? Really super heavy, crazy 3%, 4% down on NASDAQ. Come Monday, we dump again. Then I personally think Tuesday through Friday is going to be an up day. So those are some of the levels to look at. Now, why did Bitcoin stop at this level specifically? Because it is lower than our target. Well, I suppose if you really want to nitpick and go back far enough, right here, we can put this in log to make it a little easier. There was a little bit of this cluster right back here. You see this right back here in November and December of 2020. So I guess if you put a line right there, it's kind of where Bitcoin is trying to come down to. So maybe that's where Bitcoin's going to end up falling. But personally, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but I do think that if Bitcoin doesn't hold these levels, unfortunately, I think the next level is coming down to about 18,960. I don't know if we're going to wick down into these levels. We might, wick into it just a bit. I highly doubt we're going to put in a lower low, but we could end up putting in a giant double bottom pattern, maybe retesting the previous lows. So if you were looking, or if you want to set your longs right now, obviously not financial advice, don't just do this because it's what I'm doing, but I would be looking to do it at around 18,960. Maybe put like 25% or 50% in. Obviously, you never want to go all in just in case it goes lower. You want to manage your risk, right? But that would be the level that I would look at. Obviously, the bullish case would be simply just getting back up in here. So basically getting right back up to around 21,700, which is where we were before we dumped. And then we go back into neutral territory. So that's essentially it. Obviously, guys, remember, if you do want to learn how to trade, popping up above, bonuses below. But I do just want to end on this story real quick. Former Securities Exchange Commissioner Chair Jay Clayton has acknowledged that getting a consensus for crypto regulation in the U.S. appears elusive for involved parties, but he did challenge the government to take their first steps. He said, he cited benefits such as the ability to power quick payments alongside custody of assets digitally, and called on the SEC to provide guidelines for the custody of tokenized assets, saying, quote, "To move forward, the U.S. needs to embrace the efficiencies provided by tokenizing such well-understood services as payments and custody of assets in digital form. The presidential working group led by the Treasury should move forward," and he says specifically on stablecoin rules, identifying the characteristics that make stablecoins a means of payment akin to money transfer and not a security or commodity. So at the end of the day, guys, we are moving forward with crypto regulation. Bitcoin and crypto are not going anywhere. In fact, some of the biggest Bitcoin bears right now will tell you that this is going to be a short-lived thing. Bitcoin will outpace all of the equities eventually on the next, turn. And if we do have this great reset, where is everyone going to move their money? I mean, currently you have to think about it. The only reason that these other guys are moving into the dollar is because it appears obviously stable, but it's a better performer than theirs, right? If you're trying to live day to day, Bitcoin's volatility can get a little bit crazy short term, right? Long term, though, the volatility is always on our side, right? Asymmetrical, non-correlated asset, well, it used to be. Now it's becoming a little bit more correlated, but I think over time, it will in fact separate itself from the herd. And I still believe, Fed manipulation, great reset, hyperinflation, whatever is going to happen, I believe that Bitcoin will have a place. And for those people that can stick around during these tough, uncertain, specifically times, are going to be the ones to reap the benefits. And like I said, if you believe Bitcoin's going to $1 million in our lifetime, or even if you think that number's too crazy, let's say 500,000, right? That would be right on par with around the market cap of gold in the next 20, 30 years. Buying Bitcoin at 20,000 versus waiting for 12, if we even go that low, does it really make that much of a difference? So that's basically it for me, guys. Not financial advice. Do whatever you want, buy, sell, but you know what I do, guys. I am always dollar cost averaging Bitcoin. That is my strategy. And of course, when we have these trade opportunities, we do take them as well. But for the most part, guys, I've been buying high, I've been buying low. I've been buying in the middle. I've been doing it for over 7 years now, and that to me is the most efficient strategy. And you can trade, of course, but right now, a little bit choppy, a little bit uncertain, not the greatest time for trading if you are a beginner specifically. I don't recommend it, but if you are interested in learning, obviously, make sure that you do check out this video popping up right here, right now. My name's K-Dub, this is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.